walk with me. And as we wander down the crowded street, even if we're shuffling our feet, you make me never want to miss a beat. We're meant to be. And if you lie with me under the sycamore tree, whether we're high or low, there's nowhere else I want to go. Hold my hand, fall in love with footprints in the sand, and kiss each other while we watch the band. And everyone who knows us understands we're meant to be. And if you lie with me under the sycamore tree, whether we're high or low, there's nowhere else I want to go. So walk with me as we wander down the crowded street, even if we're shuffling our feet. You make me never want to miss a beat, never miss a beat. And if you lie with me under the sycamore tree, whether we're high or low, nowhere else I want to go. And if you lie with me under the sycamore tree, whether we're high or low, nowhere else I want to go. So walk with me, walk with me.
All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's City of Cedar Falls Committee of the Whole meeting for Monday, October 20th. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Schultz?
Here.
Latta?
Here.
Cruz? Hawbaker?
Here.
Ganfield?
Here.
Crispin?
Here.
Dunn?
Here.
Councilperson Cruz, absent, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And that moves us to item number 1, Ragbri update. And for tonight, I think kicking us off, we've got Jim Picard. Thank you, Jen.
Hello, Mayor and Council. We're thrilled to be here tonight. I'm here with Kim Bear from Community Main Street, and we want to share the results of Cedar Falls Ragbri with you. It was a very successful event, and we'd like to start off with a short video produced by Channel 15.
without towns and communities, we don't have a ride, and be able to come to Cedar Falls was a pretty big deal. It was the biggest town on route, and you always worry that is the town too big? But last night, Cedar Falls delivered, and it felt like a small town Iowa hospitality.
Ride, ride, ride. We're gonna ride all night.
Ride the wave.
Easily the best town was Cedar Falls this trip. They were a great town. They really did a great job of organizing, getting out all the vendors. The town is really cute, and we'll definitely be back to Cedar Falls.
Okay, so that's music to my ears as the tourism person. Our whole goal with this event was to show off our community and to share what we have to offer here in Cedar Falls and attract people back. So once it was decided that we were going to host this event in Cedar Falls, we, as an advisory committee, worked on a mission statement. So our goal was to offer RAGBRAI riders a warm, friendly environment with exceptional service, unforgettable experiences, and a sense of community. Ensure every rider enjoys a safe, fun, and exciting stop in our city. And we feel we accomplished that through a lot of teamwork and a lot of people. We're really proud to say mission accomplished. Each overnight town was asked to come up with a theme. Our theme this year was Ride the Wave. We really wanted to show off the new Gateway River Park. It is really in the heart of our downtown district. RAGBRAI officials asked us to host this event in our downtown. They wanted to show off, while Cedar Falls was the largest route on the town, or largest town on the route, they wanted us to show off our small town hospitality, which they felt would be a great fit in our downtown. We wanted to show off the new Gateway River Park and give riders an up-close view of this new amenity. Every rider saw this amenity as they left Friday, and some of them saw it right up close and personal as they camped along the riverbank. It just provided such an amazing backdrop to this whole event. And you'll see, I mean, they're very small specks in the photo, but there were riders that did cool off in the river and enjoyed our river during this time frame. I mentioned our advisory committee. This group of people worked for 8+ months to make this event happen. There were so many hands involved in this, but this is our core group from Community Development Director Stephanie Haug-Sheets. We had our public safety, Craig Birdie and Tim Smith, the tourism team, the Community Main Street team, Deb Lewis with tourism, and our community volunteer, Roger White. So we're so proud to share that this group really brought together a lot of other community volunteers into the mix, and I personally want to just thank every one of these individuals. And I'm turning it over to Kim.
Thanks, Jennifer. I'm going to read my notes because I tried to encompass every single person from this slide specifically that helped out throughout the process. And I probably forgot somebody, so I apologize to that person as they watch at home and they're like, I did so much and she didn't say my name. So we cannot say enough about our supporting partners, and I'm proud to be the one to acknowledge them and brag on them all for a bit. I've said it before and I will continue to share that Cedar Falls is a special place, and it is all about how we all work together when it comes to events such as this. Big kudos to the Cedar Falls tourism staff for coordinating so many things, from the marketing to all the little details of the hospitality, communicating with charter groups and coordinating sponsorships, to making Cedar Falls the best stop on the route. This might have been determined by me, and I didn't take any other votes. Cedar Falls Public Safety providing support, escorts, filling up the new barricades with water, assistance at every turn, literally, and so many cones. I still have some. Cedar Falls Public Works is truly the unsung hero when it comes to events such as this, from garbage cans to street closures, dropping off so many barricades, creating a bike parking lot. I'm positive that is not in Brian's job description. Answering all the questions about all the parks that came from the advisory committee, and always talking garbage. They're the ones who are there picking up all the garbage again in the morning and putting all the barricades away. And the best compliment is hearing it look like nothing happened the night before. That is all due to the great people at Public Works. Always thanks to Channel 15 for gathering footage from the whole day and the next morning. Thank you especially for not including my tearful response to questions that Denny asked me on Friday morning on that recap video. Big thanks for that one, Denny. Other city staff to not be left out, Grayson, with all of his sign coordination. So many signs. And Amanda with communicating to businesses and residents alike. Thank you to the school district for allowing us to use buildings and spaces for campgrounds and shower access. Cedar Falls Utilities also got to answer so many questions about water hookups, electrical options, and were another piece of the puzzle that made the day run smoothly. And all the emergency shelter locations that Stephanie worked with, checked out, and thank goodness we didn't need them. But the Ice House Museum, Cedar Ridge Christian School, McLeod Center, the Library and Community Center, First United Methodist, First Presbyterian, First Evangelical Free Church, City Hall, Pete Junior High, Hanson Elementary, Holmes Junior High, and the Oster Region Theater. Again, thank you for saying yes, and thank Mother Nature for saying no need. Last but not least, you and I for allowing us to use spaces and provide some insight into what 2015 looked like. While they didn't have to do the heavy lift this time around, it was great to have their partnership and use them as a resource. All those listed on the slide should be so proud of what we accomplished and how well we all worked together. Okay, so these numbers are provided by RAGBRAI, so they're per their registration numbers. So this does not include unregistered riders that maybe just decided to hop on their bike that day and ride from Iowa Falls to Cedar Falls. But as you can see, there was still over 18,000 riders, all 50 states, 20 countries, and the rumor is that the 92-year-old has ridden every year. His wife is his support staff, and they plan to be here next year. Not in Cedar Falls, though, wherever they go.
Oh, I'll note that
Yes.
they will be here next year.
They will not be here next year. And obviously the biggest, for RAGBRAI side of things, 50% were first-time riders, which is huge for them as they continue the ride moving forward. Okay, our campgrounds, obviously Gateway was our main campground. And as you can see from the photo, it was filled with tents and people, obviously, in those tents. And according to some Placer AI information, there was 9,000 campers that were in Gateway, which is pretty incredible. And from feedback that we've talked about and received, there could have been more folks camping there as well. So while we also were able to use Washington and Pfeiffer for charter groups, Holmes and Junior High were, Holmes Park and Junior High and Hanson Elementary were for the quiet campground, and then UNI Dome lots housed the large support vehicles and also some folks in the dorms, which we'll talk about here in a second. And it sounds like we maybe have a wrong number. Right, Deb? So over 300 people were maybe in Dancer Hall, and then 250 riders stayed in local host house. This is the Kunkel House. Tyler and Kelsey, who welcomed Team Jackhammer to their home. Additionally, they obviously had a good time. She had a lot of pictures. I told her I stole the picture from her Facebook, so it's fine. And all our hotels were nearly full, showing over a 50% increase of occupancy over last year, which I don't know if you know this or not, but that's hotel motel tax money, so that's good too. The downtown district was full of fun and local vendors. Our goal was to highlight what we have here locally. So when we did vendor applications, it was about Cedar Falls, local, downtown, and Blackhawk County. And we wanted to let those businesses shine, and shine they did. We were able to see what 25,000 people look like while visiting throughout the day of RAGBRAI, with the height being during the party. And this picture is Not Quite Brothers on the stage, and that really pretty flower basket on the right side of the picture. We were different than any other overnight, with our downtown being our entire beer garden, with over 25 vendors out on the streets and our restaurants being full to the brim. We used the River Place stage as well as the larger stage on Main Street, featuring 8 local bands prior to headliner of Not Quite Brothers. Also, thank you to Amy Eggleston from the city to help with permits and everything the businesses needed to make their day run smoothly. Anytime anybody has a liquor license question, I say, I know just the person you should talk to, and it is not me. We were also to highlight local talent with bands playing from noon until Not Quite Brothers finished up at 10:30. Fun fact, the twins on Not Quite Brothers, their aunt used to be a counselor at Cedar Falls High School. So we were very much local for our bands as well. I got a text from director Matt Phippen while Not Quite was playing and said, I hope you get to witness what is happening right now. This is an epic concert. The red shirts who were picking up garbage at the time took a pause to go see it, and it definitely was epic. We had a bar restaurant business. We had several bar restaurant businesses who experienced their best days in business during RAGBRAI, and I believe the burgers that were being flipped were at Patton, and that was probably before he had to run to Fairway to get to more burger because he ran out. So it was a good day had by all. Super fun. Obviously, none of this happens without volunteers. That's how we function at Community Main Street, and this is a pretty close number. So thankfully, Bryn in the Community Main Street office, who started working in February for me, said, I think I can do the volunteer coordination. And she did a great job. I don't think she knew what she was saying yes to at the time, but she did a great job. So this is 330 different volunteers, so individual humans, and then over 1,300 hours of volunteer work. And you can see some of these pictures too. Even Pete Downs is putting up a tent because, I don't know if you know or not, but it was like 100% chance of rain on Thursday the 24th. And so I was like, hey, Pete, do you have tents? And thankfully he put them all up and he took them all down and we didn't need any of them. So it's always nice to be ready for it. But it doesn't include hours from photographers or content creators that were there during the day or any extra staff time or any of that. So this was a huge undertaking. And while we didn't think we needed 330 individual people to pull off RAGBRAI here in Cedar Falls, we were wrong. We actually did need all of those people. So thankfully, it went off without a hitch as far as we were concerned, and we were grateful just to have all the people that stepped up. And we got to see some new faces who were like, is there more stuff like this in Cedar Falls? And where can I sign up? And I was like, here you go. Do you like to hang garland? So Jennifer will now talk about some other fun numbers.
All right, I'm really proud of our marketing team and marketing committee that helped pull this off, and I want to say a special thank you to you, Mayor, for jumping in the river during a blizzard to really help us kick off our social media for Cedar Falls RAGBRAI. We got a lot of attention out of that video, and it really helped. So you'll see some large numbers on the screen, but our social media reach was tremendous. Our website visitor number, 23,000 visits, is amazing. And we're reaching people from across the world, around the country. But we had a really great team that I would put up against any team that was gathering content day of. Video, photos that we can use next time around. And this is just our local crew. The statewide RAGBRAI organization has more numbers and reached a larger audience than this. And they promoted Cedar Falls and what we have to see and do here to thousands, tens of thousands of more people. So we're really proud of all of the ways that we were able to show off Cedar Falls and what a great community it is. So more numbers that you're probably super interested in are income and expenses. So our advisory committee worked really hard both to raise funds and be mindful of expenses while meeting our mission to provide an excellent experience for the riders. So we feel we did that. We started off with $50,000 that RAGBRAI provides overnight communities. This is an increase in what they provide overnight communities from previous years, so they really give us a good start. We raised $83,000 in local sponsorships, so a huge shout out to our local community, and that they really stepped up to help us pull this event off. $38,000 of vendor fees and through our beverage garden, and then miscellaneous income was through charter groups and through shower vendors. So we feel really good about the money raised. Our expenses were campgrounds and sanitation, so that's a lot of porta potties and garbage. So $13,500 in that. $10,000 in transportation, which was our shuttles that went from the campgrounds and the lots at UNI to bring people down to the entertainment. Our beverage garden, the bands, vendor expenses equaled $59,000. That's the largest amount. Publicity and all that signage, $12,500. We really wanted to make sure people found their way safely around our community. And then event insurance and a few miscellaneous costs at $11,000. So our net revenue from this event is approximately $71,000. So we did round some of these amounts, but this is where we're coming in. So very early in the planning process, the advisory group discussed the possibility of excess funds. We weren't sure, but we were very hopeful, and how we could use them. So our goal was to truly benefit parks and the downtown area that hosted riders. We knew a parks master plan was coming. We thought, how can we fit into that? And we really want to support our future capacity to host this event. Every time we talked to RAGBRAI, and still to this day, they keep asking us to host again in 3 to 5 years. I don't know, we're a little, maybe 5. But we usually host, it's been every 9 or 10 years. But they really love our community. They think we're a good fit. So they're very anxious to come back, which I think says a lot about our town. So our thought was to add to the RAGBRAI reserves. From the 2015 event, we had $5,000 that sit in tourism reserves earmarked for RAGBRAI. We would like to add to that amount, just knowing that if it does come back sooner rather than later, the capacity for sponsorships might not be as high. And we also talked about improvement projects to Gateway River Park, since that seemed to be the showcase of the community and where the majority of the campers were staying, and we know there's more capacity for campers in that area. So we talked about sunshades, tables, swings, things that would be permanent fixtures in that area that would provide a nice amenity for our residents, visitors throughout the year, and also serve the RAGBRAI riders as they come back again. And then also downtown was very instrumental in this entire event. So how do we also serve visitors in our downtown area? One thing they're seeking is a new information kiosk. So that was what our advisory committee talked about as far as use of remaining funds. And none of this would be possible without our sponsors, again. So we just really want to say thank you to all of these businesses and organizations that helped us and provided the financial assistance to make this event happen. So that's what we have for you today. If you have questions for us, we're happy to answer.
Okay. Thank you, Jen. At this point, I will just open it up to everyone instead of just taking the time to say thank you. I'll let you guys kind of, any thoughts, comments? We do want to, we'll take a vote here at the end just to give direction to make sure staff knows they can move ahead with expending those funds in that way. But at this point, I'll just open it up to conversation.
Mr. Mayor, Jennifer, Kim, and I'm not surprised by seeing your list of your advisory committee. This is one heck of a good job by you guys. This event could have made nothing, and the publicity here was unreal. 1.4 million views just to Cedar Falls specific social media for this alone. That's unbelievable. I'm not surprised they want to come back in 3 to 5. I understand your trepidation with it too. But this was just another awesome event we had here this summer. We really got to showcase our community this summer, and you folks were instrumental in that, you and among others, but just an amazing job.
Thank you.
Couldn't be more proud. Good work.
Second. Third.
Mr. Mayor, we were super lucky, and the riders all went past our house, so we spent literally all morning on our porch, and it was so cool. It was so much fun. We had so many people that we knew that stopped in our yard and said hi to us, but all day long, I swear, like every person that went by said hi. Every single person. Like, people were having the best time. I think the first person went past our house at like maybe 7 o'clock in the morning. It was so early. And then my son, who at the time was 17 months old, literally stayed on the porch all day, which is crazy because he is like constantly on the move, and he loved it. So it really did. It was just such an incredible experience. You guys did such a good job. Thank you so much for taking the time and being willing to take on the challenge. I just think you did a great job, and I loved it. So thank you.
Hopefully Freddie remembers it when they come back.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Mr. Mayor. Yeah, hats off to all of you guys, Deb and Kim and Jennifer. Hannah and I live about 6 blocks apart, and I live on 12th Street too. So we hosted about 20 people, and it was just, we had a fantastic group. And then to come downtown and experience some of that as well. So just a great job, and I think 3 years is, you were so, you were on top of everything, so.
We could maybe use more people on the advisory committee next time.
Craig's got that.
Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead.
Thank you, ladies, very much, and thank you to everybody that did volunteer to help out. It's a huge, huge undertaking, and we're all blessed for it. I'm curious on the money that might be earmarked for future use. I'm a little bit concerned about the loss in value of cash reserves over 3 or 5 or 9 years. Would there be some other expenditure that we could get in the meantime in the way of may use full bike lane kind of signage? I also had some folks talking about the safety at our roundabouts and reminding cars that pedestrians have right of way. Could we add some signage with some of that money that will be used for future RAGBRAI events and not lose value in our cash reserves? How do we go about thinking through that?
Pass that
I
one.
might just respond to the question about some additional signage. And actually, you know, that topic did come up, and Roger had conveyed to us some of the interest there. And we do have a CIP item for on-street bike signage that, as Director Schrage had said this morning in a meeting, has primarily been used when we do a reconstruction project. But we can look at that item. It's like $5,000 every year that we've programmed. The council has done that for a while. And we could start to use that more outside of just reconstruction to do a full signage plan based on the priority of the Bike Pedestrian Commission. So that was our thought on how to accomplish that.
Okay. Yeah, and I think the only hesitancy there for the advisory committee, if they've already thought it and given it due process, that's fine, but we just don't want it to lose value sitting there doing nothing, because inflation and all.
Yeah. Thank you, Counselor.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to speak as a volunteer, and I have a volunteer bug. I kind of, I don't know, whatever endorphin you get or whatever from volunteering, I get that. But I guess what I'm trying to get to is sometimes you show up and, you know, you're there to help. And what I'm trying to say is you guys did a great job of, like, I couldn't fail if I tried. And that's not always the case. So, like, I'm ready to go for whenever it comes back. I'll do the whole day because it was so rewarding and pleasant. And when I did need help, my help was quickly there. So it's not that way all the time. So kudos to Bryn and you guys and everybody. And can I just piggyback off? I just want to make sure that we know, maybe noted, that we do have this communication from the Cedar Valley Trails Partnership talking about the requested signage that Councilman Ganfield just mentioned. So there is a request, an email from them.
I believe we'll open up to public comment too, and I think Mr. White will have some comments, but we can move that here in a second. Any other thoughts, questions, comments from council? Yeah.
Hats off. Phenomenal job. Having done dozens of RAGBRAIs, I was thoroughly impressed with the way everything laid out. Everything, you know, Main Street concrete instead of twisting ankles on gravel like some communities do, and that's all they can do. But we had a great situation there, and it's phenomenal. And I would say 3 years, every 3 years we should do this. That way you don't forget how you did it.
We won't forget. We won't forget. But
Let the record reflect the daggers in their eyes whenever anyone says.
Good job.
thank you.
And I want to take a second just because, Kim, I know you kind of glanced over, there's the list of the supporting sponsors, and Community Main Street's one of them. And you said, oh, and Main Street. And so just to say thank you, our Main Street would not be what it is without you and the team. And now this summer, especially with all the new Sturgis event, bringing everything to downtown, throwing Ragbri on top of that, street party, and we won't talk about stuff coming up. We don't need to give you that anxiety, but just thank you guys for everything you do. We would not have the downtown that I know we love to go out to all the time without the work you do. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other thoughts, comments from council? Otherwise, we'll open it up to public comment since we are going to ask for direction on the funds. So if anyone would like to speak on this item for up to 5 minutes, please feel free to. Just name and address, Mr. White.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. Roger White, 2303 Greenwood Avenue here in Cedar Falls. And while I have previously served on the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission, my term ended on the 30th of September, so I'm here as a cyclist, as a citizen from the public, and as a Ragbri participant. It's awkward because I was also on the advisory committee, as you saw from the slide earlier, but I have an alternate proposal for investing the surplus or the remaining funds from the Ragbri overnight. And I wrote some comments which I can't get done in the available time, so I'm going to leave you with copies and just kind of summarize what we're talking about. I came up with this idea in late August. I kind of heard a little bit about maybe there was a surplus from the Ragbri, but not all the bills were in yet, but I didn't have any details. While I was on the advisory committee, as you saw from the slide, I was not at the 2 meetings where apparently the plan that you see tonight was discussed. So I had no knowledge of it. I really learned about it primarily when I looked at the packet for tonight's meeting. And I did hear a little bit about it from another person who was on the committee with me prior to when I saw the packet. But I'm naive, I guess, in that I didn't realize there was a plan, so I decided I'd come up with one. I took it to the Bike Pedestrian Commission. They liked it, and it came forward. That plan is, as was mentioned, to mark the bike network. That was originally adopted in 2009 by the council. It was redone and modified a little bit in 2022, but it's coming up on 16 years old, and it's not fully marked. Some streets have nothing yet, some have one marking, some have another. The Bike Pedestrian Commission has a uniform or consistent proposal, and that is that we, on-street network avenue or routes, we use a pairing of 2 signs. One would say bike route, and the other would say may use full lane with the bicycle icon. Both of those are legitimate signs according to the sign people at the federal level. The other alternative is on 2 streets we have bike lanes, Main Street and Clay Street, and the 2 signs there would be, instead of bike route and may use full lane, it would be bike route and bike lane. If that would be done, we'd have consistency around the community. We wouldn't have the variety that we have right now. It also would remove the painting because the Sherrills are out there right now and they're not always repainted. On some streets, you can hardly see them anymore, but that's one of the techniques that the city has used in the past where they have to be refreshed every year. So I guess I'll say I'm not really opposing with the proposal that you have in front of you. I'm just maybe adding an option or an alternative for you to consider. And a couple of things that I'll point out that you may want to, as you consider this. One is the fact, as I mentioned, that the network itself has been in existence on paper since 2009, updated in 2022, and still not completed. The CIP does, as I've learned here recently, does have 5,000 for the next 5 years at least. That means that the route will be 21 years old before it's finally marked, and that's longer than I think it ought to be. The other consideration is that Ragbri comes to town invariably, it was 5 years one time, but it was 10 years another time. So we may have a lot of time. The average is 8.2 years when you look at the 6 times it's been here. So we may have a lot of time to do the enhancements in the park before they're back. And last thing I want to do is the cycling community is very appreciative of what's been done and as far as progress, and we'd like to see more. Hopefully the signage would be one of those things that will happen. And as I said, it's awkward for me to make this proposal since I was on the committee, and I even considered not bringing it. But after I had talked to the other cyclists on Cedar Valley Cyclists, on Cedar Valley Trails Partnership, and Cedar Valley Bicycle Collective, the bicycle community is in support of this proposal. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. White. Is there anyone else for public comment on this item tonight? Just name and address, please.
My name is Bob Manning, 2908 West 3rd Street, Cedar Falls. I just wanted to echo what everybody else has said about the good job, and although we volunteered, it didn't seem like we were working because we were talking about Cedar Falls and what a great place this is to live or to bike or whichever option people want. But also, more importantly, I wanted to mention that when I was president of the Cedar Trails Partnership is the year that we put up the red and green signs, the directional signs all throughout the community, about 125 of them altogether. And we coordinated that with Intercog, Waterloo, Cedar Falls, and the surrounding, and then Intercog used their influence with the smaller communities for their help also. So it's out there. This was a one-time project, and we found the funding source before we started the signage, of course, and it worked out very well. So I would certainly volunteer to help out with that, with whatever the powers that be determine is best, whoever the powers to be are. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manning. Anyone else for public comment this evening? All right, seeing none, bring it back to council quick for any further discussion before we give council direction or staff the direction. Direction would be to move ahead as the proposed plan. And I know just from our staff conversation this morning, there was that conversation about knowing that there is a signage needs that the group has discussed, and that there are other ways maybe we accomplish that. So it's definitely something that may discuss the goal setting as well, but definitely hear that that's a interest point for the Bike and Ped Committee, but also open for discussion if the group wanted to discuss that.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
I trust that, I just want to emphasize, for me, I appreciate all the proposals, but I also want to make sure that, since it's really not included on the slide, that the proposal that Mr. White spoke of and that we've received email of is also considered. I mean, I think they're all great, but I think we want to consider that as well, if at all possible.
Okay.
I think it's important for, overall, it's a biking event. So I think one of the reasons people, there's many reasons they enjoy coming here, but continuing to be an example for the biking community and to welcome cyclists all the time, not just in 5 years, I don't think, and just for our own community and our own safety. I hope that we consider that in it as well. However, I trust however staff wants to work it out or how, but let's just make that a priority as well.
Thank you, Councilor.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
If I may, I'm thinking through that same process, and while I just want to clarify, it might sound like a concerted effort. There was a letter, and we want to talk about doing these signage things. I think that the $46,000 that's proposed to expend in Gateway Park is great. To have that asset is a good expenditure, I think, because we'll be using that park in the 3 to 5 to 8.2 years in the interim. So putting it into a tangible asset, I think, is a good expenditure. I like the $46,000. The only pushback I would give and ask council to think through is maybe we set aside $5,000 into that reserves, banking essentially double for RAGBRAI expenses when they come back, knowing that we'll have a steeper supporting ask, especially if it's close duration, but expending that 20 instead of the reserves where funds lose their value because cash is worth less today or it will be less then than it is today, and use that 20,000 on a combination of bike and pedestrian safety signage and enhancements. I'd also bring into the mix, I've heard recently from a pedestrian that they're getting threats and a lot of language that we don't use in Cedar Falls just because they're walking through the roundabouts. And so maybe we could talk about a compromise of some pedestrian signage and some bike signage with that 20,000 instead of socking it away where it will lose value over the next duration. Is that something that anybody wants to think through about instead of socking it away?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yep, go ahead.
I mean, really, the slide or the proposal is, these are possible areas that the money could be spent, right? I mean, I don't see a commitment to the shaded structures or anything like that. It's just things that they could look at. So to me, there's no reason why we couldn't add signage. We might have other funding sources as part of the possible things that we could look at for that additional money that we have past the earmark for RAGBRAI 2020, whatever, no, 2030 something. So, I mean, I don't have any problem if we, you know, I'm not entirely sure what we're voting on, but if we include the signage proposal or the look at it that Mr. White talked about in that list of possible uses of that money, I'm in favor of it. So.
Mr. Mayor. I'm all for the signage, safety, spend away on that. To Dustin's point, you got the opportunity cost of money. You bury another 25,000 into a reserve that's probably making a couple percent. If there's some sort of creative use, a glaring project that pops up, I'd be wholeheartedly supporting spending that money on something that will enhance RAGBRAI of the future, any other Sturgis events of the future, anything that would have continuity from Gateway into Main Street to make that thoroughfare more pedestrian friendly during events and so on. So I wouldn't see the need to put that much money in reserves. That's what I'm saying.
Mr. Mayor. I'm a little bit confused by the money is going to lose its value. I don't know if you guys have asked people for huge sums of money before, but it is not the easiest task. And so to have that funding set aside so that you don't have to find a person to give you that huge amount of money, it makes it so much easier to say yes to hosting an event like this. And it makes it easier on these partnerships so that we can ask them for funding for other things in addition to RAGBRAI. You know, we're just putting the strain on these people who are being generous. So to me, if they're asking for that amount, that's what makes sense. I think that's what we should set aside for them. And I of course would be happy to talk about signage and, you know, safety for bicyclists and walkability and all of that. And I'd be happy to put additional money for that from our other funding sources. But I think if this is what the committee is requesting, they put the work in. I think they know what they want to spend it on. And so I'm in support of what the advisory committee has proposed.
Okay. Thank you, Counselor.
Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
I'd echo Ms. Chrisman's sentiments. I think we have an opportunity in goal setting here coming up because we just got a document in front of us talking about that here in the next 2 months. We've got 5,000 already marked in the CIP for that particular use. Not to say that we couldn't find more potentially through that process. I'm inclined to stick with what the advisory committee is recommending at this point. And again, I think it's a great point that is brought forward by Bike and Ped, by Mr. White, but at this point, I'm more inclined to go with the recommendation from the advisory committee. Thanks.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other thoughts from Council?
Mr. Mayor, excuse me.
Yep.
And I would say there's no intended distrust. The value of money does decrease. If we don't do a project now and we get another bid in a year, it's always more expensive for any construction you do, and I would assume signage or any other expenditure would be in that same vein. That's why the decreasing value of money certainly in no way minimizes the difficulty of asking. Having just started as a development director this year, asking people for money is tough work, so when they're ready to commit it, it's fantastic. I'm okay with going as what they've suggested here. I just figured rather than setting it aside and having it not appreciating value, do something a little more proactive that gives us now benefit, like the Gateway Park improvements that'd be my preference. But if the group wants to go ahead and go with what we've got here, I'd like to see those 46,000 in improvements, and I would hope that the group would talk at goal setting about those safety improvements and signage elsewhere in the city.
Thank you, Counselor. And if I can just go off that, I was going to say it seems like a consensus would be a direction of generally like the proposal, but also at goal setting, maybe we have some of that conversation around as we're looking at the signage for bike trails, the parks master plan implementation, some interest in making sure we're allocating some of those funds broadly speaking. And if it makes sense that maybe some of that 25,000 can go toward that if we feel appropriate, we can have that as an option. So would that sound like a fair assumption of it?
Sure.
Okay, otherwise, all those in favor of that, what I just said?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that motion carries. All right, that, you got that in the notes, right?
I'm just trying to think of what the minutes are going to look like on that one.
That of all what I just said. It's clear and concise.
That's given direction.
You could put it on a road sign.
You can put it on a road sign. All right, that brings us to the end of our committee of the whole discussion. So we will adjourn here, and we will be back. What's our actual time? I think our clock up there is a little behind.
7:02.
7:02. We'll be back at, say, 7:10. Kick off the regular city council meeting. All right, so we'll adjourn. We'll be back here at 7 to 10 to kick off our regular city council meeting. So thank you, everyone.